Hey, welcome back, guys. I'm sitting here. I know everybody likes their superheroes and their supervillains for different reasons. But did you ever think that we don't just love them because they can shoot lasers out of their eyes, that they can fly? They're an evil genius who can create multiple things like a mad scientist. We like them because of their backstory, their history, what makes them who they are. So when we're doing our own writing, we need to think about what makes this more interesting for people. How can I make people bond with this character? Now, if it was just, oh, this guy can fly. Ooh, look, here comes Flyman. Look at all he can do. He can fly, he can shoot lasers. Yeah, it might be cool, but it's not going to make you want to read more. It's not going to make you want to watch more or learn more about him. So when we're doing that, think of the backstory. Think of the things about you that make you who you are, that's made you the person you are, and made you as creative and original as you are. That's what makes these characters stand out and be so appealing to the reader or the viewer. But the reason why you are here today is so that we can continue our story. David Walliams' Ice Monster, chapters 45 and 46. Let's get started. Chapter 45, A Lollydilly-op. Fortunately, there were many fantastic hiding places in the Royal Hospital. With Matrone flushed away, Titch and Elsie led Dottie and Wooly down to the food storage room and slammed the door behind them. "It's nice and chilly in here," said Titch. "I'm sure your furry friend will feel right at home." The mammoth did. Elsie did too, for this was where all the food for the elderly soldiers was kept. The old boys obviously ate well, as there was a giant jars of sweets and tins and all sorts of goodies, like jam, honey, and treacle. To the girl who had lived her entire life under the shadow of hunger, the smell of the food was like the sweetest perfume. "Oh, I'm starving," said Elsie. "Please, may I have a tiny bit of jam?" The little girl's eyes widened and her lip quivered. How could the grown-ups possibly say no? "A little dollop can't hurt anyone, can it?" said Dottie. "No," agreed Titch. "No one would miss a dollop." "Strawberry or raspberry?" asked Dottie. "I've never had either," replied the girl. "What's nicer?" "Raspberry, I think." "Raspberry it is, then." Titch reached up and took down the jar of raspberry jam. Slowly he unscrewed the lid as the little girl licked her lips. However, before Elsie could dip her finger in, a huge furry trunk snaked around and slurped up the lot. "Slurp!" "What the?" exclaimed Elsie. "Bad mammoth!" chided Dottie, slapping Wooly's trunk away. Whack! The mammoth didn't even react. She was too busy being in a state of bliss, or having tasted the jam for the first time. "Maybe I should try some strawberry then," said Elsie. But as Titch unscrewed the lid, the mammoth's trunk snaked its way around and slurped up every last bit. Slurp! "What?" exclaimed Elsie. "Bad mammoth!" yelled Dottie. "Not too loud," hissed Titch. "Well, she's being very naughty." "I know, but if I know Matrone, she'll have all the soldiers up out of their beds looking for that thing." "She's not a thing," said Elsie. "She's a mammoth." "Mammoth thing, then?" "I don't know." Rumble. "What was that?" asked Elsie. "Thunder?" guessed Dottie. Rumble. "There it is again." "Is it the pipes?" wondered Titch. Rumble. "It is the pipes," said Elsie. "Wooly's pipes. Listen." All three felt silent. Rumble. "It must be the jam," said Dottie. "Not agreeing with her tum-tum. Don't let her have any more." "I won't," replied the girl, "but I am absolutely starving. You hold her trunk while I have a tiny bit of treacle." The treacle was in a huge tin the size of a bucket. Titch shook his head and lifted it down towards the girl. As Dottie blocked the animal's view with her body, he held on tightly to its trunk. Excitedly, Elsie prized off the lid. Immediately, the sugary aroma whispered its way to her nostrils. It was so sweet that for a moment the girl felt as if she were floating. She dipped her finger in, and it felt as smooth as silk. Just as she was about to scoop out a large dollop of treacle, she was shoved against the shelves, causing all the tins and jars to come crashing to the floor. Bang! Crash! Whoop! The mammoth had surged forward to slurp up every last bit of the sweet-smelling gloop. Dottie was holding on to the animal's trunk, so was shoved into Titch, who was shoved into Elsie. Now there was a cloud of sugar and flour and tea whirling around the room, causing the three non-mammoths to cough and splutter in amongst the chaos. The mammoth's trunks searched out every last morsel of food that had been splattered on the walls, floor, and ceiling, or indeed was still floating through the air. The more they all tried to stop Woolly from devouring everything in sight, the faster she ate. Rumble, gurgle, fuzzle. "Oh no, it's a tummy again," said Dotty. "I think we're headed for an explosion," predicted Titch. Slurp, 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 slurp. Chapter 46, Bottom Explosion. The girl gulped. "You don't mean a bottom explosion?" she asked. "I do, young lady," replied Titch. Suddenly there was a loud knocking. Boom, boom, boom. "This is the military police. Open up. We know you're in there," came a voice from the other side of the door. "Shh," shushed Dotty. "Nobody say a word." "We heard that," came a voice. "Yikes!" exclaimed Dotty. "We heard that too." "Darn." "And that." "Dotty, shh," implored Elsie. "We heard that as well." "It wasn't me that time," called back Dotty. Grumble, trizzle, durgle. "I fear a bottom explosion is coming," said the little old soldier. "Had a terrifying speed." Boom, boom, boom. "Open this door at once." "Well, why don't we?" said Elsie with a smirk. "You don't mean use its rear end as a cannon?" asked the little soldier. "Exactly," replied the girl. "Open the door and fire at will." "Just coming, officers!" called out Dotty, as she squeezed past the mammoth to get the door. "Quickly, madam, or we will be forced to break this door down." "Patience is a virtue," she called back. "Toozer, grobble, verjuzel." "By the sound of Woolly, she's ready to blow," said Elsie. Dotty put her hand on the key and began to turn in the lock. "Just a jiffy, officers." Click went the key. "The door is unlocked," Dotty called out. "Crumadoob, mutiny, mutiny, badoozle." The handle turned, and slowly the door opened. The three shared a mischievous look at the mammoth, straightened her back, and lifted her tail. "Fire!" shouted Titch. Fire the creature did. Grrr! The noise of Woolly's bottom burping sounded just like a bear growling. It fired all over the military policemen, covering them from head to toe in hot, sticky mammoth poop. The force of the bottom blast was so strong, it knocked them off their feet. The poor men were completely disoriented, as their eyes and noses were covered in the stuff. "Let's make a run for it," said Elsie. "Charge!" cried Titch. The three guided the animal back out of the larder and began leading her down the corridor. "You bring up the rear, Dotty," ordered the soldier. "Not on your Nelly," snapped the lady. "I don't trust that area one bit." "Where are we going?" asked Elsie. "Away from that awful smell," replied Titch, as they hurried along the corridor and up the stairs to his ward. All right, my friends, that will do it for chapters 45 and 46. Now, are you ready? Try that again. I said, are you ready? Better. All right. You, meaning each and every single one of you that are listening to this story, will have to answer each and every question with complete sentences. Now remember, we're also trying to restate the question. That makes it so the question would make sense to anybody who reads it. So if I just said, yes, that doesn't tell me. I would say, yes, because this happened, so that I know what I'm asking in the answer. All right, have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Now, back to your story, Mr. Luthor.